Time now for 1 full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, your hosts, Marty Hough and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert.
You're listening to The Straight Line on drag racing at mrn.com. Thanks for being here for our 1 hour of horsepower. Appreciate you joining us. The bikes are back, and we'll talk to two stars of the division. Eddie Krawiec will be here to talk mini sweep, and Angelle is back to the track after a couple of races off. The tour heads back to the zoo in Brainerd, and Jed Copham will be here to talk about a very challenging month in Minnesota. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, it is The Straight Line on mrn.com, along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert. I am Marty Hough. And, Doug, we're heading back to BIR, where everything gets a little bit exciting, but it's going to be really exciting, unfortunately, for the folks at John Force Racing. John Force, the good news is, John Force, the 16-time champion, he has won there more than any place else in his career, 11 wins at Brainerd. The bad news is they've got two drivers in that stable on the bump. Courtney Force right now on the outside looking in, and Robert Height is right now tied for 10th. And they've got – it makes it a little more interesting than they'd like here at this point in the season.
Yeah, really, it's looking like right now Courtney Force is almost 3 rounds basically out of the top 10 behind Alexis, and then about roughly 4 rounds behind her own teammate Robert Height. So they've got to make some things happen. But then you got to remember the real deal is going to be at Indy, where there's points and a half awarded. So That's going to be the chance. The Indy deal is going to be what turns everybody around. And I guarantee you, they're going to go from Brainerd right down to Indy, and they're going to do some testing there. But Force over the years has been good at Brainerd, to say the least, right? So he knows how to win. But is that going to correlate to wins for Robert and Courtney? I don't know. Courtney's car's really been running pretty well. It's just they haven't been at the right place at the right time. They've had to race Height a few different times.
Yes.
I mean, when you have the second best run of the session, it doesn't matter if you race the person with the best run of the session. So, therein comes the problem. But that's a top 10 car. It's just there's more than 10 top 10 cars this year in funny car class.
Yeah, exactly. Neither one of those cars, obviously, without a win in the Traxxas shootout at Indianapolis either. And with Traxxas being the big sponsor on Courtney's car, that's also got to add a little applied pressure heading into this event and also at Indy.
Well, I would think so, but aren't they going to have that fan vote? I would think that she's going to, she should be heavily weighted in the fan vote, I would think, the way this works, right?
Yeah, right.
But nevertheless, tough position there, for them. And then, and then the top 10 also, in top fuel, you've got Clay Milliken a little bit outside of the top 10 there. And Clay, we'll talk about, the issues that have struck Clay's family coming up. And then our other guest that we're having on, Angelle, top 10 in motorcycle after not even attending a couple races.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool for her to be in there. We'll talk to her about George Bryce and what the Star Racing team is going to be doing to step up their game here for these couple races. And I didn't realize, I guess we talked about it last year, but the Pro Stock motorcycles weren't racing in Brainerd last year. I didn't.
The last couple of years, they haven't. First year since 2012 that bikes have been back to Brainerd, so it'll be kind of interesting to find out. Now, Angelle, obviously, she hasn't been to any of these tracks in a long time. So that was going to be one of the questions that I have for her is, bikes aren't coming back or haven't been back to Brainerd since 2012, but you haven't been there for a long time either. What
so
are
no disadvantage to her.
No disadvantage to her, but what are some of the racetracks that have kind of changed and been surprising to her? We'll also talk to Eddie Krawiec today. We'll ask him especially about Brainerd because they haven't been back there, and what do they know? What are they? How have they prepared for this race? Because it's got to be a little bit weird coming back after 3 years of non-competition.
Yeah, but the other thing is, though, about that Vance and Hine team is they have so much depth. They've raced there so many times
right.
that they just simply have more data than really any other team. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for that Vance and Hines team.
Yeah, we were talking about the funny car bump. And it's really interesting with the bikes right now. You have 5 drivers basically for 3 spots. Matt Smith, Scotty Polachek, Angelle, Ellie Tonglet, and Chip Ellis are all within about 3 rounds of each other with 2 races to go, and one of those being 1.5 points. And this is going to get really interesting. Everybody's going to have to be at the top of their game because there's 2 of the 5 are going to get left out.
Right. Well, and you left out Steve Johnson in there too, which he's only a few points back also. So
true.
There's a bunch of drivers or riders, whatever you want to call them, the motorcycle guys. Some of them, we've had this argument before on here. I guess they call themselves drivers. But some say riders. I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be a good fight for that top 10 in the pro stock motorcycle. And I wouldn't count out Steve Johnson either. So there's, when you look at it like that, you've got like 6 or 7 guys that are in a vulnerable position.
Remember, Steve Johnson, 2-time U.S. Nationals winner. A guy that knows how to get it done at Indianapolis, and especially if you can get all those 1.5 points and you can dominate in qualifying and you can get max points, I mean, you could get well really quick in one event.
That 1.5 deal is going to be it's just I can't even get the point across and how big that is. That is big.
No question about it. Also coming up on the program, we'll talk to Jed Copham. He is the owner-operator at Brainerd International Raceway. Back on July 12th, they had a supercell rip through the facility and just created havoc, blew down grandstands. The media center was gone. 1,500 trees, not 15, 1,500 trees blown down on the facility. I mean, basically wiped this place out. Wow. Just a little more than a month ago, they are back and they are racing this weekend at BIR. I mean, it's just a fantastic pulling together of resources and facilities at BIR.
For anybody that's never been to Brainerd International Raceway, the drag strip is one straightaway of a great big racetrack that they have there. So it's a neat facility. The infield has, hundreds of acres of campground, a.k.a. the zoo. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll talk with Jed a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. It's been a challenging month, to say the least, at Brainerd, and we'll find out how it all came together and how they've made this work heading into the Lucas Oil Nationals this weekend at Brainerd. Also, and you'd mentioned it here real briefly, about 24 hours after we last left you here on the straight line after last week's show, we received news that Dalton Milliken, the son of Clay Milliken, lost his life in a one-person motorcycle accident last Thursday. Our condolences go out to the Milliken family, and Doug, I know you were one of the first persons to contact Clay and have been out there. Obviously, unfortunately, you've been one of those that have received that news, and for Clay to go through that as well is just got to be heartbreaking for them.
Totally heartbreaking for everyone that's friends with the family. These kids, like Dalton, has been around the racetrack and grown up. I've seen him at the racetrack for the past 15 years. So, what a tough situation. And I went over there to the services on Sunday. They had a service in their little town just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. A lot of his buddies were there, and you've got to try and make it a celebration of life, and that's what they did on Sunday. And everybody will be missing Dalton, and keep Clay and Donna in everybody's prayers. So they're going to have a tough road ahead here for some time. Yeah,
and Dalton Milliken was a driver in the the Monster Jam series and drove a monster truck.
He was a really good pro series ATV, four-wheeler ATV racer on like AMA circuit. So I believe he was actually champion racer in that. I know he won Loretta Lynn's. Really good little racer. And you can't explain why or how these things happen. Motorcycle went off the road and took his life. It's a tragedy.
From all of us here at the Straight Line and all of us at the Motor Racing Network, our condolences go out to the Milliken family, and keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Dalton Milliken was 22 years old.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my 2 sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
Save on your next oil change with 5 quarts of Castrol GTX conventional motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $22.99. Plus, earn double O-Reward points. Protect your engine with Castrol GTX conventional motor oil and a MicroGuard filter, $22.99 at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's The Straight Line.
Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here's more with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
It's been a while since we talked bikes, so we need to get back on. The rider / driver of the Vance & Hines Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle V-Rod, and on a heck of a roll right now. Eddie Krawiec joins us. Eddie, thanks for being here. Appreciate your time.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on, as always. It's good to talk.
Well, even though you didn't run at Seattle, basically you swept the Western Swing the best that you could with the bike category. So, man, congratulations on the mini sweep out there.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was. We kind of joked about that, and I guess technically it was 11 rounds of racing, including our NHRA bike battle that we had. But it's been a great 2 races for me, and hopefully looking to build more momentum on that as we get into the later part of the season.
What's been the key? You went to, obviously, going to Denver and then going to Sonoma. There's got to be a lot of, we talk about this a lot with the fuel cars and how much they have to change the engine combinations going from the mountain down to sea level. How much of a change is it for you guys?
Well, you could really make it as difficult or as easy as you want. And for us, being that we only really have 1 race a year at altitude, we don't change a whole lot in our engine combination. There's certain little things that you'll change, basic, going through your injection system and all your standard stuff. But really your engine inside those valve covers and all those engine cases stays the same. And it's the same for the Suzukis. I really don't know of anybody that's gone above and beyond with the motorcycle and tried making a one-off custom altitude or Denver motor.
Well, I know you guys, years, not that many years ago, I guess, had the office, the Vance & Hines shop there in Colorado. So that might have given you a little bit of an advantage from all that experience too, huh?
It definitely does. If you look at the Vance & Hines track record, we've always kind of fared pretty well there. And when you look at it, you lose about 30% of your horsepower. So, our motorcycles are going from, 380 to somewhere around 250 horsepower. The thing is Denver's really hard on your equipment because you artificially gear it and rev it to run the same early all the way through. Like our shift points and everything are almost the same, but then high gear is half a second longer. At a higher RPM range throughout. So you definitely beat up on your equipment a little more.
How hard is that for the driver when your shift points are a little bit different? Because you kind of get in that natural rhythm of just shifting that bike when you by the shift light, but you're also kind of by the seat of the pants. Also, by how it revs. How hard is that for you to kind of change the way you do that for one race?
The thing that I really appreciate for going to Denver is it really lets the rider ability shine at that track, because, and the reason why I say that is because you have to be very, very smooth, obviously, because you're going so much slower, and just the rate of acceleration as the driver does all their things correctly, it reflects in the ETs. You know, when you're in these big power tracks, Sonoma, Englishtown, and some other places where you're making lots of horsepower, you can sometimes short shift by 100, 200, 300 RPM, and it not greatly affect it. But in Denver, if you do that, man, you're going to knock the wind right out of its sails, and that thing's going to fall on its face. So I could appreciate the fact that you have to be on your game. And like you say, there's no such thing as being in a set rhythm. I think that's where, as a rider, you have to be really on your game and just shift by the shift light. You got your points. I do have my set points on the track that I will not shift before them, because if it spins the tire, rattles, or does anything weird, you have to be prepared. So it really only applies for the first 2 years, in my opinion.
Well, you guys definitely have something figured out with low ET at both at Denver and at Sonoma. One thing when I was there at Denver, I saw Terry Vance roaming around. Always good to see Terry over there with you guys.
Yeah, he actually came out to Denver and Sonoma. He enjoys going to races. He'll be in Brainerd also. You know, he tries to go to as many races as he can. Now that he's a little more retired, I want to say, you know, he stepped back from the company on daily, day-to-day operations, so it's freed up his time. But he also spends his time, you know, going to baseball games and doing some stuff with the family, because as we all know, you know, it's difficult on family with the traveling and not being at home for however many years he's done it. You know, I think Terry would tell you his whole life he's been out on the road.
Going into the countdown, Eddie, and do you guys have anything in reserve for the countdown and for coming up for the points and a half at Indy?
Come on, Doug. We can't talk about that.
I knew it. I knew you had something in reserve.
Well, you know, to be honest, we've struggled the beginning part of this year. You know, you wouldn't think it. I came out, ran well in Gainesville, went to the final, went to the first 3 finals, actually. Andrew won the second one in Charlotte. And then from there, we sort of went on a dry spell. And the dry spell, I'm meaning by not going any rounds. You know, we had fast motorcycles, but they were so inconsistent. You know, we battled with this fuel for a long time. They switched us to that new fuel. They got rid of the VP, and now it's Sunoco. And we really struggled with that. I'd say we started turning the corner in the last few races and really starting to figure it out. You know, getting a handle on our thing, on our whole tune-up, and basically the whole package. So I honestly think we have more in what we have, because we haven't had that year, this past couple months of this whole combination that we're running now. We haven't had a chance to get data on that. So I think we'll only get better with what we have. And, you know, I wouldn't say we have 5 horsepower sitting under a bench, because I think if you had it, you would use it and you'd want to go race, especially when you're struggling. So we're gonna do the best we can, and you know, I think the countdown is going to be great this year. When you look at the level of competition and in the class overall, and the way everybody, you can't pick who's going to be a winner at any race.
Right.
Yeah, no question. Chatting with the driver of the Vance & Hines Harley-Davidson, Eddie Krawiec. Speaking of the Vance & Hines team and good records, you guys have been really stout at Brainerd, 8 wins. Terry Vance, as a matter of fact, got the first one at Brainerd back in 1988. But you haven't been back there since 2012, so what is the strategy going in? Obviously, it's the same for everyone, but are you going back on prior notes, or are you just kind of throwing it out there and see what happens?
You know, we always use our notes from past races. Being that the track hasn't been, you know, totally redone or repaved, you can definitely use those notes to apply them to the racing surface and all that stuff. We work with a couple of great people, you know, Lanny McGlizzy and over at JFR, and those guys, we share some notes and some track information. So it's definitely it's a benefit for all of us. Anytime you can get all the competition out on one track, because it allows us double notes. But for the fuel tuning, I think we'll be okay. You know, as we were saying, it's sort of a midway, little less than Brainerd, little less than Sonoma. So we'll have some information. We went up to Martin, Michigan a couple weeks ago and tested it, and I think those notes will apply quite well to where we're going to go.
And speaking about notes, you know, we know, and we've talked about it before, you run the Suzuki program at Vance and Hines, you know, as well as doing the Screaming Eagle Harley stuff. How does anything from the Suzuki program correlate over to what you guys do on the Harleys?
Honestly, it doesn't.
Really?
There's little bits and pieces that you can maybe take, but again, the biggest thing is this fuel change. You know, the Suzuki seem to like it. I'd say it overall, it helps everybody with their combination-wise, but this new stuff, if you're off, you're way off, and it greatly shows in your ET. So I'd say our tuning window is probably a little smaller than what it used to be until you get into it, and then you got to find your edges from each end. But you know, those engines turn 14,000 RPM, and ours turn 10,000. So it's a little bit of a different in gear ratio and everything, the way that we run them down the track. Very, very little seems to apply at this point. At least we haven't found what would say, okay, here's our median point from each.
Being based in Indianapolis, you guys get the opportunity to test out there quite a bit. With the open test coming up after Brainerd, are you going to show up at that test and show your hand, or you've pretty much got Indy down and going to stay out of that?
Dude, I'd shoot myself in the foot if I said we have it down and we're ready to go, because I don't believe there's such a thing. You can always be more prepared. You could always use more testing. Anytime you get track time is a good thing. It could be bad because you tend to send yourself backwards when you think you're on the right track. But, you know, for us, we'll probably go out there and test. You know, it's a great opportunity to go and run on a good track, get some good information for when you're going to be there the following week. Anytime you go to NHRA, I will tell you, NHRA has done a phenomenal job. These last 2 years, the racing surface at national events has been so consistent and so good, it's really hard to go testing now. And to be quite honest, if you can't go and test on what you're going to be racing on, it makes it so difficult, because then, like I was saying, you hunt around for a tune-up that might work great on that track on that particular day, but it will not work on a national event track. And I'll tell you, we learned that early on, and I mean, hats off to NHRA. They're giving us an awesome racing surface, and when they do that, you know, certainly nobody can complain.
One of the things I remember most about talking to you, we talked to you here a couple years ago, when you were down at Gainesville setting up the awning. We said, "What are you doing, man? You're getting ready for the race?" "Yeah, I'm setting up the awning." I was like, "That's my guy. I love Krawiec. That's cool."
Yeah, and that's it. You know, we're no better than anybody else on the team just because we get to pop the clutch and hold our bikes full throttle. It's still a team effort, man. There's a lot of things and a lot of work that goes on in getting to the track. You know, the race weekend is actually the easiest part of the whole thing. It's all that behind the scenes stuff that you don't realize. That is all the real hard work, and that's what a lot of our crew guys are all there to pitch in for. You know, everybody's got to set up, tear down, get the bikes ready before the race, get the bikes ready after the race. When you get to the racetrack, you're supposed to be there to race and be fully prepared. So we try not to veer off that path. So you try not to work at the track unless you're on that 3 or 4 race swing where you have to.
Yeah. All right, so the biggest question of the weekend is zoo or not?
We have actually 2 new guys coming with us. We started a little bit of a deal this year at Vance and Hines. Me, Andrew, and Matt, we sort of took over daily operations of the shop, and we wanted to get everybody in the shop more involved in the race program. So what we do is we bring a different individual from our shop out to each race. We have about 16 or 17 full-time guys, so we grab each a new one at every event, and we bring them there. Well, we happen to have a new guy that's never even been to a drag race going out this weekend with us, and then our new crew guy, Mike, is going to be his first year at Brainerd. So I'm definitely going to say it's a must.
Yeah.
You have to. If you don't go to Brainerd and you don't get the experience, you didn't go to Brainerd, because there's more people that go to the zoo that never see the drag race than I can probably count on all my fingers, hands, everybody's fingers and hands at that race.
You're going to ruin those guys. Take them to one race and they're done. They're ruined. They're gonna go to the next.
Explain to them they're not all like this. Listen, man, it's not you stay up to 4 in the morning, you get hammered and try and go have a good time. They all don't work out like this.
Well, the good thing is, I think now when the sun's going down, the state troopers come in and kind of escort the racers out, so you won't be in there that late. Hey, Eddie, great job here winning a couple races. Go up there to Brainerd and let him have it. Congratulations on your wins, and good luck to the Vance and Hines Screaming Eagle Harley.
Thanks, guys. As always, good speaking to you.
And we'll talk more bikes right after this on The Straight Line.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
Dale Jr. here. I wear Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans for any occasion. With new styles and great fits, you'll look good and feel comfortable anytime, anywhere.
Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans are built with a U-shaped construction, so they give you more room where you need it. And their 4-way flex technology moves with you for all-day comfort.
In the garage or out and about, Wrangler knows the ins and outs of comfort. Wrangler, real comfortable jeans.
Chet Herbert designed and manufactured the first roller cam for racing in 1949. Today, NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert continues his father's legacy. Herbert Cam stocks cams for virtually all racing applications, from street ride to NASCAR and NHRA. Herbert Cams can also custom grind a cam for any application. Cams, lifters, valve springs, push rods, and all related performance valve train and engine parts in stock at the best prices. Visit HerbertCams.com or call our expert technicians at 800-444-7373 for all your racing needs. Herbert Cams.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Join the Straight Line conversation on social media, and there's lots of ways of doing so via Twitter at MRN Radio, at Doug Herbert, and at Straight Line MRN. You can also search and like us on Facebook and Motor Racing Network at the Doug Herbert fan page, and Breaks with Doug Herbert. And a lady that's very active on social media, and we love to catch up with the driver of the Star Racing Buell for George and Jackie Bryce. Angelle joins us. How you doing, girlfriend?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great.
Hey, that is great that you're going to be back at Brainerd. We're excited that, and it was a bummer.
Actually, we won't be in Brainerd.
Oh, you're not going to be in Brainerd?
I wish we're not going to be in Brainerd. We will be headed back for Indy.
Okay, so you're going to come back for the points and a half at Indy and hold on to that top 10 spot, so be in the countdown.
Yeah, that's right. And, I was really bummed about not going to Denver and Sonoma, and I thought we would be back at Brainerd. And now I'm actually a little happy that we're not going to Brainerd, because I have something really big going on at home. My little girl started school on Monday, and so there's a lot going on with trying to get her back and forth to school, and it's a whole new part of my life I've never stepped foot in before. So I'm excited that I have a little bit more time to get her settled in and get used to that whole setup. I mean, I have a child that stays up till 2 or 3 in the morning, and so getting her to go to bed on time, fortunately, has not been an issue. She's been getting up well, but for me, it's a little bit of an issue because my whole time schedule was so different. But it's weird, drag racer at heart, but when I'm at home, I'm 100% mommy mode, and so I'm just a little happy that I get a little bit more time with her.
That is awesome. I saw your pictures on Facebook the other day where you had your picture and her picture like side by side, kind of growing up, and you look like sisters.
Yeah, everybody's told me since the day she was born that she doesn't look anything like me. She looks more like my husband, and you want to see yourself in your child, and I couldn't see it for the longest time, and I'm finally starting to, and it makes me feel really proud.
Angelle, what was the reasoning behind missing Denver, Sonoma, and then coming up at BIR? Is it strictly personal, or is it the race team combined?
No, it was definitely financial. The team's just, we're still struggling trying to find the funding. We started that join Team Angelle deal with, it was joined TeamAngelle.com, and it worked really well. We made enough money to do 3 races with it, and that's pretty big. You know, you guys know how much it costs to go to a race, and we were able to fund 3 races out of that deal. But then it just wasn't enough to go any further. I mean, I think we could have made a couple of more races, but to go to the West Coast swing all the way from Georgia was going to be quite expensive. And we decided as a team to just pull the money that we had together, stay home and work on research and development, and work harder on finding more funding. That way, instead of spending every penny we had left traveling across the country and not knowing how we were going to qualify or how we were going to perform, we figured that we would be better off by staying home, working on the engine program, trying to find some more funding, and coming out better and stronger at Indy.
Tell us, one of the things obviously that happened last year was when your foot got hurt in the pit accident. How's your foot doing, and is the bike got changed around so you're more comfortable on it, and how are things going in that front?
It's funny that you asked, because yesterday I had lunch right next door to the physical therapist that I went to, and I have been having some trouble with my ankle, so I stopped in to see him, and he, messed with my ankle a little bit, did some flexion exercises, and just tested it to see where I was, and I've actually gone a little bit backwards. The flexibility is not as good as it was when I finished rehab, and he was checking out a tendon that I'm having some trouble with, and so he gave me some advice on doing some home therapy, getting back in the gym and working it out, and if things don't get better in a month or so, I'm going to go back and see him. But, I'm walking fine. I can run. I can do just about anything I want to do, but it just doesn't feel normal or anywhere near normal yet. My doctor told me it would take a full year, but that year is creeping up on me, and I'm not where I want to be with it. So definitely want to look into doing some more rehab on it and seeing if I can get it to feel better. It doesn't cause me any problems on the motorcycle whatsoever, because it's not enough flexion or pressure on the ankle, as if I were doing an athletic activity. But just around the house, squatting down, playing with my little girl, stuff like that, I feel a difference, and I don't like it. So I want to make sure I heal it up 100%.
And the good news is that you have no problem getting into the gym and working out. I mean, that's been a big part of your life for a long time.
Well, I did up until Monday. Like I said, I had my little girl chasing me around all day long. It's kind of hard to go to the gym when you don't have a babysitter nearby, but she's at school now, and yeah, that's definitely a goal of mine, is to get back in there and get back into shape. My husband and I have often talked about getting back into the martial arts, not to compete by any means, just to use it as a form of getting back into shape. We both do jiu-jitsu. He does, or used to do, some MMA fighting, so we want to start at least the training process of all that and see if we can get into better shape. It's just a matter of finding the schedule. We do run our own business, and it's just me and him, so we don't have any employees, and that's kind of hard, to get away from the business. And so now that she's in school, I can work a little harder at figuring out a schedule for myself, and hopefully I'll have all that done really soon.
Angelle, do you know yet if you're going to be coming to Charlotte after Indy?
Yes, definitely. We will be in Charlotte, and one of the biggest reasons for that is because of Andrew Patterson, the one that won our Star Racing Riders Challenge.
Yeah.
He was supposed to compete with me in Atlanta, but we did some test sessions before Atlanta, and he didn't feel ready, and we didn't feel ready, so we decided to do some more test sessions with him. He's actually going to be testing tomorrow and Friday with my team, and he'll be competing with me as my teammate in Charlotte, so we're looking forward to that.
Oh, great. Well, hopefully you're going to come in on Thursday, and you and your husband can join us at our Breaks Gala on Thursday night.
That's right. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I do have to get my flight schedule and all done so I can get in time for that, so thanks for the reminder.
Oh, yay.
Chatting with the driver of the Star Racing Buell for George and Jackie Bryce, Angelle joins us right now. Since we last talked to you, made the final at Norwalk and making a little history, getting in the final with Karen Stouffer. Unfortunately, came out on the wrong end of that one. But what did you take out of that whole Norwalk experience and getting back to a final and just getting back in competitive?
Up until that weekend, I wasn't quite sure of a whole bunch of things. I wasn't sure. I knew that I wanted to race, and I knew I was still emotionally competitive. I just didn't know how much. I didn't know if I had the same amount that I used to back in the day, the Army bike days and the Winston bike days, until we got to that race. And when I started winning rounds, every round that I would win, I realized more and more how this is exactly what I live for. I mean, I wanted it so bad, and I know a lot of people think that I went into the final and I was trying too hard, and that's why I red lit, because I did want it so bad, but it wasn't that way. I was so calm and so comfortable, and I couldn't believe when I saw the red, because I really wasn't pushing it hard at all. I think it had something to do with just the fact that I was so focused and I was so calm. I think a little bit nerves would actually help a little bit. It might have slowed me down a little bit, but I just went as soon as I saw yellow. I don't know if the bike moved quicker than it did before. Maybe the tire popped up. Maybe I was deep stage. I don't know exactly why the red came on. But what I did learn that day was that I want to win just as bad as I ever have, and probably even a little bit more, because I do have even more to do it for now. You know, before it was me, my team, my family, but now it's my daughter, and she definitely reminds me when I get home that I didn't win. So I can't wait to be able to hold up that Wally on TV, whether she's with me or she's at home, and say, "Hey, Ava, Mommy did win this time," because she loves to say, "Mommy, you didn't win."
Oh, boy.
Well, it sounds like between school with Ava, you're fishing. I've seen you catch a bunch of fish, and business. You keep pretty busy over there.
Yeah, what's up with the bow fishing?
We don't stop. The bow fishing is so much fun. We go out usually at sunset, and we don't come home till the next morning. And I've always been a bow shooter. I used to deer hunt with my bow, or just go target practicing with the bow. And I haven't picked it up in a really long time. And now that we're into bow fishing, we had it all switched over to regular arrows that actually, you know, it has the bow fishing arrows with the little fishing reel on it. It's really cool. We went frogging a couple of nights before that. You know, I'm a bayou girl. I literally live on the bayou. You walk out of my house, walk down the street about 50 yards, and you could step foot into Bayou Lafourche. So that's how I was born and raised, and that's how we do it down here. We live off the land, and it's a really good time. So we have fun.
Now, don't tell me that you're going to go out with Jerry Savoy and start robbing alligator nests.
I haven't ever done that with Jerry. He's invited me often. I've been to his farm several times. I don't know if you know this, but Jerry and I have known each other for probably 35-plus years.
Wow.
We've been knowing each other since I was a little girl. You know, our families have hung out together. We used to go to the lake on the weekends and ride in boats and jet skis together. So we're very, very close. So, yeah, I definitely need to do that with him, because I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, thanks.
Yeah, you out there wrestling with an alligator. I don't know if I want to see that. Angelle.
No. I'd have to pass. Grade your riding so far this year. Now that I mean, you've probably had enough events to be able to gauge where your riding is right now.
Okay, yeah. When I first came back, I definitely was behind the whole motorcycle. And I'm sure you guys would understand what I'm saying when you're behind the timing.
Yeah.
The bike would take off, and the gears were ripping through. The light was coming on for me to push the button, and I just couldn't catch up. And I guess it was because of the 6 years off of the bike. And it didn't take a really long time, but it definitely didn't happen last year when I first came out. And then I got hurt, and then that kind of set me back a little bit. You know, the testing we thought we were going to do over the off season was all put aside, and we couldn't do it until February. But then once I got back on the motorcycle, I don't know if it was a mental practice I did or just, you know, remembering the 3 races that I did get to do last year. But once I started the beginning of this year, it just kind of clicked. You know, as soon as the shift light would come on, I was right on it. You know, my shift points are right back to where they need to be. And my head was even getting jerked back when I popped the clutch, because I just wasn't going with the motorcycle like I should. But now all that's much better. I'm doing a lot better with it. The only problem I struggled with in the beginning was the bike was driving to the right, and we still really don't know if it was a motorcycle or if it was me. You know, we thought maybe it was me trying to protect that left ankle, but then we found a couple of things wrong with the bike, and we got it all fixed. And finally, the last race or two, we had it going straight. And now that the bike's going straight and I'm on time with everything, I really feel like I'm where I need to be. And then, of course, you know, the next problem came up with where we were just running out of funding and we had to take a couple of races off. So I was a little disappointed in that, because right when I started to really be in the groove with my reaction times, my riding, just the luck was falling into place, and then we had to take some more time off. But I'm really hoping that it doesn't hurt us. It will help us because of the engine program that they've been working on. I know George and the guys at Star Racing have been working really hard to give me a fast motorcycle. So I'm going to try my best to stay in the groove and get some more wins in Indy. And I don't know what our chances are of being in the top 10, but it really doesn't matter. We just want to win races. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a deal for next year and we could do a full season.
Well, you only need one more round than what you had there at Norwalk. So I know you know where the winner's circle is at most of these tracks. So It's just a matter. You're right there. I'm happy that you're feeling comfortable on the bike, and I'm sure getting back to the winner's circle will just be a matter of time.
I do know where the winner's circle is in Indy. Fortunately, I'm one of the ones who's been there before. But it's not like it used to be in our class or in any class. The competition is unreal.
Yep.
So I'm just so excited when I win a single round. So if we can go a couple of rounds or finally get that Wally's, I'm going to tell everybody right now because I already said it. If I win a race, I'm going to cry. So if you guys don't want to see me cry, go ahead and turn the TV off, mute it, do what you got to do because I know some people don't like to see my emotions. I'm telling you right now, it is going to happen.
And then you can tell your little girl that you got it while you're crying all at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah.
It comes on us. Let me tell you, I'm an emotional person on and off the track, and I'm not going to hide it the next time I get to hoist a Wally. I will be crying my eyes out.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're looking forward to that day. Good job there at Norwalk. We'll be looking forward to seeing you at Indy. And Angelle, thanks for joining us today. Writer of the Star Racing, George Bryce, Buell, and back to the winner's circle in no time, I'm sure.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And look, we still are doing that program with Join Team Angelle. You guys can join, get on board and have some fun with the other races. Keep your fingers crossed that we do find some funding. I know everybody's struggling with that issue, but we're going to keep working at it and hope to see you guys real soon.
Thanks, Angelle. Where do fans go to find out more about that?
It's www.jointeamangelle.com.
Right on.
Angelle joining us today here on the Straight Line. And when we return, we will talk Brainerd and all things Brainerd and what has happened over the last month or so. We will talk to Jed Copham next.
This is the Straight Line. More right after this.
The road to victory lane isn't just for drivers anymore. Introducing the official daily fantasy game of NASCAR at DraftKings.com, America's favorite daily fantasy sports site. Just pick a team of 5 drivers and stay under the salary cap. Outscore your opponents and win. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use promo code COAST to play for free. You could win part of the $1 billion in prizes being awarded this year. Enter COAST to play for free now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my 2 sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for being here on The Straight Line or on MRN.com. And there's no better thing that we like to talk about than racing up at Brainerd International Raceway. Unfortunately, it's been a heck of a challenge for them over the last month or so. And right now we are joined by the owner-operator at Brainerd International Raceway. Jed Copham joins us. Jed, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. And what's this last month been for you guys?
It's had some challenges, but ultimately we pulled together and got this place ready to rock and roll. So no fear to come here. You'll notice a few less trees, but otherwise everything else is going to be ready to rock. So we're looking pretty good. We're in really good shape, and actually we've all been working so hard. Everyone on my staff, we're all a little ahead of the game, I think, this year because we just put in extra work and dug in and wanted to get things done. So it's actually kind of nice for me. I'm actually doing things today that I wouldn't normally do till tomorrow or later. So we're in really good shape here.
Wow, how about the 200 volunteers that came out to help you guys out there? What were some of the stuff they were doing? It sounds like hundreds of trees, over 1,000 trees came down, and what else?
Yeah, it was a devastating loss to some really beautiful trees we had here, and we've taken out. I've taken out my share of trees over the years and opening up run-out areas and building my road course. In 10 years of cutting trees, Mother Nature beat me in a half hour by a long shot. So, like I tell some people after this event, when this event's up and going and we get everybody placed in here, on Sunday I'm going to go around with some sticks. I'm going to pound them in and try and get some new trees planted here. So we have, we can replenish and make this place, add some nice shade and stuff. So ultimately, it was a bummer, but, a few things we definitely have improvement. We made a little more racer parking. We got some better bleachers. They're more versatile to use for what we do here throughout the year, not just the national event. So they're movable. Ultimately, and we wind checked a lot of our trees. So if they made it through 90-some-mile-an-hour winds, I think the ones that are left here are pretty good.
I bet you there's some fans already pulling into the zoo, and they're already starting to camp out. What do fans have to look for this weekend coming up at your racetrack?
So fabulous racing. It was 90 degrees here last Saturday.
Wow.
So we're looking a little bit cooler this weekend, and with cooler weather, there's a chance to set some records, of track records. I always hope for that national record. See if Beckman can keep his streak going and keep beating his records. I'd love to see it here. As far as the fans, we have one big party. We opened on Monday. We had people lining up here early last week. We opened the gates on Monday, and they're setting up, building a little city inside there from bars and tents and awnings and pool tables, and people have couches and big screen TVs out there, and it's quite the setup these guys plan and bring in here. And then we have 6 bands, 2 each night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And Saturday night winds up with one heck of a fireworks display. I'm a bit of a pyromaniac. I love fireworks, and I think our fireworks are second to none.
Wow. Well, Brainerd's really always been one of the most fan-friendly sites, and it sounds like you guys are really putting some extra effort into it to make sure that the Brainerd International Raceway is going an extra mile.
Yeah, we're ready if we can get Mother Nature to cooperate a little bit. It was rained yesterday, a little bit of drizzle today. It's not too bad. All the sportsman racers and the midway, we're doing all the setup right now. We go racing tomorrow. So, and then the nitro is on Friday, Saturday, and the finals on Sunday. So, if Mother Nature can cut us a little break, it'll be an awesome weekend.
Now, is the track involved in the parades and the contests for all the particular contraptions that are running around in the zoo? I know that they usually do big votes on the craziest contraptions that are running around in the zoo.
Yeah, we've done that in the past. Really, the last couple of years, Napa Auto Parts is a great sponsor of ours, and they go out and give prizes to some of the creative guys. We used to line them up and parade them through, and that it was getting pretty crazy. People were trying to keep topping each other and started trying to get a little bit crazy. So, and it was really hard to judge too. They were so creative that it was, for a couple of years we had Ron Capps and some other guys out there judging, but it was so hard, and then we didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So now we just give prizes. Napa gives some really cool prizes to the folks that but they're giving prizes to the creative party wagons, and there's some really cool stuff out there from picnic tables, and you'll see boats and pontoons mobile and all kinds of crazy contraptions out there. People parade around that.
Well, Brainerd's always been one of the neat places with the hotel on site there and all the food vendors out there, cheese curds. Pretty much anything you want to find, you can find at Brainerd
Pork chop
Raceway.
on a stick's one of my favorite. I've lived on those some years. Gino does a great job with those. Euros it's quite the party. And this year also, I guess I failed to mention, for a 2-year absence, we didn't have Pro Stock Bike. They moved the bike event because the bikes don't run all 22 events. So they moved the bikes to another facility, and backed by popular demand by both fans and drivers, the bikes are back this year. So we look forward to seeing some of those guys out hanging. They'll come out in the campground and hang out with fans, and it's really a cool experience.
Now, something that we have also seen quite a bit that we don't see at a lot of places, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll also have snowmobile racing.
Yep, we do have, with our sportsman racers, we do have a snowmobile class. So, yeah, we race a lot of snowmobiles here. Actually, throughout the season, we race snowmobiles on the asphalt, and we also, in mid-June, have a snowmobile water skip where we race snowmobiles on the pond. Now, that's not this weekend, but yeah, we have snowmobiles here. We live, eat, and breathe snowmobiles here in Minnesota.
Sure.
How fast are some of those fast snowmobiles? It seems like I've seen some.
You see some in the 8-second quarter miles, 150 miles, 50-some miles an hour.
That is nuts.
Wow.
And those are production, like the old days of the sled, they started to run Mercury two-stroke boat motors in their sleds, and they've cut that back, and they all have to be production-based snowmobile engines now. So back in the day, Marv Jorgensen hitting almost 200 and 1,000 foot with 3 2.4 Mercs on his Jaws 3. So that's a tough one to beat. But they're screaming with these nitrous and turbo four-strokes nowadays are really putting up some fast speeds.
Yeah, that is nuts. Not only do you have the drag strip there at Brainerd, but that's just a small part of what you do during the year, because Brainerd is a huge facility with a big road course and a lot of different types of motorsports that you host during the season. Talk about that a little bit.
So yeah, we started up end of April. We run through mid-October. And, yeah, we have 2 configurations to our road course. The original one, built in 1968, is 3.1 miles, 10 turns, uses the mile-long straightaway, which is our drag strip. And we run that a handful of times. Porsche Club of America has a Porsche National race. This last Saturday, we had a 12-hour enduro. A Trump car was here, runs that track. We have a local motorcycle group, the Central Road Racing Association. They run bikes on that track. And we also have another configuration we added in 2008 that splits the road course from the drag strip. So we have a 2.5-mile, 13-turn track that can run in conjunction with the drag strip. So we'll have a drag race going on. We'll have a road race. Like, say, 4th of July this year, we had our show and go. We had 400 muscle cars. I'm in the 6 seconds competing out here on the drag strip. And on the road course, we had NASA, the National Auto Sport Association, along with the Trans Am Pro Series, which was actually televised this year. So we got an hour of television out of the Trans Am race this year. We had a great field.
Nice.
Had an Andretti in it, and local hero Tommy Archer back. He fought his battle with cancer, and so far he was cancer-free, and is back behind the wheel and took second in TA2, the Trans Am 2 class. So some very exciting racing on the road course. And that thing is hot all the time. That road course is, when we drag race, it takes, most weekends. The road course runs Monday to Monday pretty much all summer.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what. Brainerd's always been one of my favorite places, and I know towing the dragster around the road course has always been kind of fun. That was a fun return road in the old days.
Yeah, at a muscle car series event too, we had some street classes, and these guys have to prove their street worthiness by going 4 laps around a 3-mile track. So if that car can't go 12 miles without breaking down, overheating, and then has to restart, they can't go 12 miles with this, 7-second car. It's probably not a street car. So that's kind of how we make sure and keep them honest that it is indeed they're all street legal. They got to have headlights and flashers and windshield wipers. And I mean, you're talking cars are dipping into the low 7s, mid 7s. And like I say, they got to do that parade on Saturday. So that's a pretty neat deal. And then we also have a really cool event. One of our fastest growing events is our new proving grounds. It's about in its 5th year. It's the Sport Compact, and we have drifting, we have autocross, we have road racing, we have time attack lapping, we have drag racing, big car show. I mean, it's a lot of Hondas and Mitsubishi Egos, and that it's a crazy event. And we're getting the kids back to the track. And now that we're getting them here, they're starting to find out this is a fun place. They're coming to other events, and so it's and we try to be family oriented as well. So it's not the old days of wet T-shirt contests and that kind of stuff. We don't allow that. We want to keep it PG. We tell people it's a PG facility. And at night, people obviously do have some fun and do some drinking, but it's all in pretty good taste here. And we try and have designated areas. Like say for this event, we have areas where if you want to be loud, have the music play all night. If you're ready a little more towards the back, you're in the main part of the zoo. You want some family camping. You don't want people tearing it up. We've got a family camping area, which is pretty large, and you can get a little more peace and quiet. So you can go visit the zoo when you want, and then go home and get some sleep for the night if you want as well. So, kind of zoning, as you'd say.
Sleep at the zoo? Who would want to do that?
Yeah,
now? I mean,
really.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
And they say they just can't party like they used, like the young kids were getting nowadays. Who want to, And I will admit, there's a few of these guys that not even sure what racing's going on. They come for the party. So we really have a couple events going on. We have some great racing, but we also have in my mind, one of the best parties in motorsports.
Yeah, no question. Well, if it goes fast or if in or out of the pits, you can find it at Brainerd International Raceway. Judd Copham, thanks so much for being here. Congratulations on getting everything back and ready to go for the Lucas Oil Nationals coming up this weekend, and good luck with it.
Hey, thank you. Keep your fingers crossed for nice weather for us.
Will do.
Yep.
Judd Copham with Brainerd International Raceway. We'll wrap up another great edition of The Straight Line coming up.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
Dale Jr. here. I wear Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans for any occasion. With new styles and great fits, you'll look good and feel comfortable anytime, anywhere.
Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans are built with a U-shaped construction, so they give you more room where you need it. And their 4-way flex technology moves with you for all-day comfort.
In the garage or out and about, Wrangler knows the ins and outs of comfort. Wrangler, real comfortable jeans.
O'Reilly.
Nothing looks classier than a jet black car or truck. Keep that mirror-like shine with products formulated especially for black finishes. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up Turtle Wax Jet Black Spray Wax or Jet Black Spray Detailer, your choice, $7.99. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
I'm fired up. I want to go to the zoo right now.
Last year we had a fan up there sending us pictures on social media of Marty and Doug, where are you? It was like, where's Waldo kind of thing.
Right, and my guess is that will happen again.
Okay. Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah, they've had the same sign for the last couple of years. So, yeah, we're going to get a lot of social media out of that one. And you guys up at the zoo, behave yourselves. You were the first guy to introduce Gary Scelzi to the zoo, which is really frightening to me.
Oh, I drug him to the zoo back in 90, I don't know, whatever year that he was coming around. 97, I guess. Come on, Scelzi. Oh, no, I've heard about that. I don't want to go in there. What, are you scared, Scelzi? Come on. So we drug him in there and had a good time. And, it was amazing. But back in the early 90s, none of the racers went into the zoo. It was like, the sun went down, the guard dogs and the National Guard and everybody else went into the zoo, and you kind of just stayed away. But it's really turned into a fun, it's wild, obviously, but it's a pretty fun place to go. And I think almost all the racers now go in there, take a case of hats or some T-shirts, and go in there and have some fun with fans. It's a pretty neat interacting place with the fans. And actually, a lot of the tracks, like some of the NASCAR facilities, have neat campgrounds there. Yeah. Indy does, Topeka does. Charlotte here does. Yes. So several of them do, and it's a great way to get out there and talk to fans and, a little bit relaxed environment, maybe, drink a beer with them or, shoot the bull with them or whatever. But also one thing I want to say for the fans that can't make it to Brainerd, the race will be televised on ESPN2 Saturday night qualifying show, and then Sunday evening the elimination show.
Yeah, and this is kind of the last go-round for the people up in Minnesota. I mean, for the most part, and like Judd said, they're racing up there until October. But, boy, you get past the middle of September or so, and the weather gets really dicey. So this is their last opportunity to really let one fly. And usually that's what happens because they don't get out a whole lot up there in Minnesota.
I think that's part of the reason why the zoo is so wild.
Right.
Is they don't get out very often. They're caged up in their houses for basically all year, and then they get a chance to go out there to the zoo and they let it rip. I mean, it's a big old fun time. So, I think the racing season is pretty short. There's a reason why they have snowmobiles there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's just one of those places where you just never know what's going to happen. Big thanks to everybody involved in today's show. So for everybody involved, we will talk to you next week on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in next Wednesday at noon for more NHRA talk. The Straight Line is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center or download from iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.